Are any of the X-ray attacks in Mortal Kombat X actually survivable, or will all of them... Finally, on this spooky holiday, this question will be answered. We send you straight to the morgue.
Watching from the sky, a beam of light, I am electric eye.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Brian, and this is another theory video thingamajiggy that has been a long time coming. And yes, I am releasing this on October 31st, even though I teased it all the way back in January. Oops. But in all seriousness, this is kind of technically the first Chamber of the Wraith video of the year as well. Probably the only one. I mean, unless you count the short-lived War Room series as kind of theory video type thingies. But this is the proper, like, Chamber of the Wraith theory video thing. So, without further ado, let's just jump into it. You know what it is. Can you survive any of Mortal Kombat X's X-rays? Even if it's by the skin of your teeth, because some of these X-rays, like this one, and this one, these guys, it just doesn't look survivable. But I have a sneaky suspicion, or at least I had a sneaking suspicion, and we'll get into that in a moment, that there was a character that you could, in theory, survive as long as, like, that stopped the fight. Because X-rays have been a thing since Mortal Kombat 9, and they definitely took it a step further with this one. Because back in Mortal Kombat 9, X-rays were actually not that brutal in comparison. Like, Sindel kicks you in the groin and breaks your leg with an elbow strike. That would be fight stoppage, but you could definitely survive that. Whereas, of course, Melina stabbing you in the gut a bunch of times and then breaking your skull, the stabs in the guts would kill you. And there are characters in that game who would most definitely kill you. But it still feels that some of them, at the very least, could be, in theory, survivable. Not really so with MKX, unless you count Johnny Cage. At least, that's what I thought. I'll be explaining more throughout the video. Now, some of you might not remember what Johnny Cage's X-ray was, mainly because it's been almost 4 years, 3.5 years rather, since Mortal Kombat X actually came out, and a lot of you have been playing Injustice, or have been messing around with Tekken, or what have you, so you might not have been watching a lot of Mortal Kombat X, or coming back to it. So, let's take a look at Johnny Cage's X-ray at normal speed, just to refresh your memory a little bit, and plus, an excuse to watch Breaking Bones seems fine by me. Pretty brutal. I mean, for a dude who just kicks you a bunch, but I just realized as well that I must have recorded this while the recording audio clips while you're recording your standard video thing that I use in order to record my audio during Jurassic World Evolution was still on, so I apologize in advance. But, moving right on. So, watching this again, you can see that Johnny Cage axe kicks you, breaks your jaw, and then rams your skull into his knee to shatter it into a million pieces, and then boots you in the lower jaw to break your jaw, and then you fall down. Now, most of this X-ray seems relatively survivable. I mean, you'd have to go to the hospital, but generally people who are alive walking around in the modern age can live with a broken jaw. They just have to get it repaired. But upon consulting with a friend of mine named Saya, who actually went to medical school and actually has studied injuries like this, she mentioned that the knee breaking the skull would be really, really bad. Like, super bad. Because of, if we take a look at how, like, deep his knee goes into the skull, that's going to cause traumatic brain damage. And, not to mention, all of those little sharp skull shard things are going to cut it up. Tanya's not going to be the same. If she survives that, it'll be a miracle, but I imagine that sort of trauma would almost definitely kill you, and Saya lent credence to that. She did also mention, though, that doing that to Johnny Cage's knee might actually shatter his knee, too, so karmic justice! But unfortunately, none of the other X-ray attacks that I found in Mortal Kombat X seem all that survivable, from Melina's to Sonya Blades, which actually you saw in the title, so never mind. Kitana's then. Because that's also pretty nasty. And probably one of the most gratuitous examples of how are you getting up from that is the Predator. Specifically, when he tosses the spin disc, I believe that's what that's called, I'll probably correct myself later, into the opponent's neck for the second part of the X-ray, that's just a straight decapitation. Like, it's even part of the brutality where it does cut the head off, but if you look at how deep the disc rams into the throat and shatters the spine, that's a decapitation, whether internal or external. That is, you're almost certainly dead. These Mortal Kombat characters do not mess around, and quite frankly, I'm a little bit sad that none of these are survivable, but at the same time, it adds a little bit of a charm, especially when you realize that some of you men out there may actually die from shock if you're punched in the groin by a certain sergeant. Ow! I hope you enjoyed this fairly brief theory video. I know it's not exactly the super long, like, leaves of three-letter feed explanation that I gave for Poison Ivy's hypothetical diet way back in the day, but I'm hoping that in 2019 I actually do some more theory videos, because this was actually kind of fun, and I'm hoping to also actually just dive in and do some more research into some other things, like, Spider-Man PS4 perhaps, but maybe but the explanation for that will have to wait until another day. I hope you enjoyed this video on Mortal Kombat X. I would like to know if you guys have any thoughts on any of the X-rays in Mortal Kombat X, and in particular, if you think that whenever Mortal Kombat 11 decides to come around, will the X-rays kind of get ratcheted up even more? Is that even possible? I guess we'll have to wait and find out. But until next time, DFTBA, folks. Finish him. What?
The end of all